Hi, Dr. Brian Brown here. Here are 5 non-intuitive lifestyle tweaks that can dramatically improve your well-being. Number 1, nutritionally support your cellular metabolism genes. Number 2, nutritionally support your brain health genes. Number 3, nutritionally support your cellular energy genes. Number 4, nutritionally support your detoxification genes. And number 5, nutritionally support your inflammation genes. Now, I know you're wondering what I'm talking about, nutritionally supporting genes. What does that even mean? I'm going to explain that for you. I'm going to give you a case example that'll cover 2 of these 5 areas that we just talked about. So the first area that we look at when we do a genetic profile in a client is cellular metabolism genes. We want to find out where the imbalances are, and we want to nutritionally support those. So let me explain with an example. This area of cellular metabolism boils down to a complex process called methylation. But don't worry, I'll break it down in simple to understand terms for you. And I'll also explain why direct to consumer genetic testing like 23andMe doesn't cut the cake. The only part you need to know is that methylation pretty much regulates everything from DNA replication to energy production, neurotransmitter production, such as your feel-good brain chemicals, cellular detoxification, and inflammation management. It's kind of the kingpin of all the genetics and kind of controls a lot of the other genes. In other words, without methylation, you don't survive well. It does its work in 5 phases. And this is critical for understanding why companies that are direct to consumer like 23andMe don't work. Each of these 5 phases has a different job. And at the end result of the work of B vitamins coming in from your diet and donating a methyl group along the way, that's what makes all the magic happen. But you don't need to get bogged down in the details. Let me give you an example. Recently, I had a client that, according to 23andMe, only had a 10% deficit in methylation, which by clinical standards is an acceptable deficit that you can live with. You really don't need to do much about that. After proper genetic testing, which checked the 13 genes that are involved in all 5 phases, this person had an 86% deficiency. Now, from an energy production standpoint, they were starting their day with 86% of their gas tank on empty. This massive deficit explained the extremely low energy that multiple specialists in mainstream medicine and alternative medicine couldn't help them resolve. They also struggled with anxiety and had been told multiple times by various medical professionals that they only needed psychiatric medications to help control their anxiety. Imagine that. By nutritionally supporting the methylation deficiency, I was able to help this client restore 100% of their energy to normal levels and remove 70% of the anxiety symptoms. Now, this brings me to the next phase, which is the brain health gene phase of focus and nutritionally supporting those genes that are imbalanced. The focus here is on neurotransmitter health, the chemicals that make you feel good and emotionally balanced. Now, continuing from the example that I just gave you, this same client had some negative neurotransmitter genes that predisposed them for anxiety, depression, agitation and irritability, and attention, concentration, and focus issues. This is the type of client that we would classify as a worrying warrior. Once we nutritionally supported their brain health genes, meaning we got the bad switches turned off and the good switches turned on, they got an additional 30% improvement in their anxiety. Even though they never perceived having any irritability or agitation, their family even told them that they seemed less irritable and more relaxed. And over the preceding weeks that I worked with this client, they noticed that attention and concentration also improved. And all of this was done without prescription medications. Now, The other phases, such as nutritionally supporting cellular energy genes, this phase, the focus here is on mitochondrial health. If you've ever had unexplained fatigue, low stamina, or endurance, you'll want to pay special attention to cellular energy genes along with your methylation genes. Sometimes we find people that have perfect methylation, as perfect as a person can be. I've never seen anybody with 100% perfect methylation, but anyway, you get the idea. So they may have great methylation, but they have poor cellular energy genes. In other words, their mitochondria aren't getting what they need. So we need to support the mitochondria. And in most cases, we need to support both. Most people fall into the both category there. And the next phase is nutritionally supporting the detoxification genes. Now, this one is pretty self-explanatory, and especially around the first of the year, you hear a lot about getting in shape and doing detoxification and this, that, and the other. Detoxification is simply the process of getting rid of waste and toxic substances in the body. If we don't clear this waste and these toxins from our body, it causes disease and even cellular death. Now, correcting detoxification issues can be life-changing. By correcting these genetic imbalances alone, I've had people tell me, Dr. Brian, I feel like you've given me my life back. And the last and final phase is nutritionally supporting your inflammation genes. At the risk of using colloquialism, inflammation genes or inflammation genetics is a deep rabbit hole. It involves neuroinflammation, at the neurological level, general inflammation all over the body, inflammation at the cellular level, gut inflammation, and allergy response type inflammation. Now, I trust that from the first example I gave you that covered cellular metabolism, which was methylation, and brain health genes, which covers neurotransmitters, you're able to see how nutritionally supporting your genes can have a major impact on your well-being. And even though I didn't have time to go into great detail regarding cellular energy and detoxification and inflammation, just know that when we do a genetic profile on a client, we cover all of these critical areas for optimizing wellness. And by the way, collecting your genetics is easy. It only requires a few minutes of your time and can be done from the comfort of your home with a simple swab from the inside of your cheek. If you're dealing with wellness or peak performance challenges, or simply want to operate at an even higher level of peak performance, let's talk. You can direct message me on Facebook or Instagram at Dr. That's Dr. Brian with an I, G as in Griffin Brown, at Dr. Brian G. Brown, or use the message feature on my website at www.drbriangBrown.com/contact. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you soon.